Well, welcome to our podcast. We are excited to have you along for this journey. My name is Ann Mattis, and I'm the Executive Director of Peace Restored. I'll be your host as we discuss mental health and faith in our podcast, Seeking Healing, Finding Hope, which is a production of Peace Restored, a 501c3 nonprofit located in Indiana, serving women everywhere. We are so glad to have you listening in again. This week, I will be joined with Renee Roberts, our counseling supervisor. Renee has been on staff with us since 2021. Renee has jumped in with both feet and helped us develop an internship program to further meet the demands of Peace Restored. Before we start with Renee, I want to remind everyone to check out our show notes to find links and other discussion resources mentioned during today's podcast. Hi, Renee. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you on. I think it's going to be a good show today. I have been looking forward to doing this podcast because I feel like your position has been kind of like the culminating work of all that we've done over the last 6 years at Peace Restored. But God did bring us together through a kind of a non-traditional format. We didn't really do that interview process like most would expect. So it's been kind of we'll say a journey to get here. So would you like to talk a little bit about that and how we got to where we are and how we first met and maybe a little bit of our first project together?
Sure, I can try. It was quite the adventure. In fact, the first time we talked, I wasn't even sure why we were talking. I just agreed to have a chat with you online. And we just talked about what we do and our passion for counseling and our different backgrounds. And at the end of it, it was just like, okay, well, that was a nice conversation. Yeah. I don't know what that was or why we did it, but that was nice.
Yeah. It was good to get to talk to you. But then it's kind of funny because I don't think either of us knew that we were going to get the chance to meet in person. Because at that workshop, that was the first time.
The first time we met in person,
Yeah, so
we'd only... A month later, maybe?
Yeah, because we'd only talked on that one meeting.
Online, Zoom or whatever.
Did we do email? I don't remember if we emailed even back and forth. I think it was just the one meeting.
Yeah.
And then we showed up at this workshop.
At the workshop together with our husbands, no less.
Yes.
So, And
it was like...
Let's be vulnerable together.
Hey, we've met once. And it was a really intense workshop we went to.
Yeah.
It was an intense workshop. It wasn't like hey, we're going to go learn a thing together.
No, it's where we're going to go be exposed. We're going to expose our deepest, darkest, and interact with our husbands in front of people, and have difficult conversations. So
that's how we met.
And they split the group. How many people were there? 12 total. So right, like that. 6 couples or something.
Yeah.
And they split them in 2, and we just happened to be in the same smaller group.
Yeah. We'll have to go back and ask. Maybe there was some planning there that we don't know about. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah.
I don't know. But we ended up being in the same group, and we got to learn a lot about each other pretty quick.
Yes, we did. And then it was only a couple months after that. I had just moved, and you called me, and you said, I have probably an odd question.
To say the least, huh?
I have an invitation for you. I'm presenting at AACC. Yeah. I'm going to present to a small group of people, a breakout session on ACEs. I need somebody to present with me. Would you like to do that?
Yeah. Like, hi. Well, and then in between that, though, I think we had gone out to, didn't we meet one time?
Oh, that's true.
We went to Panera one time.
We did.
And after the workshop, that's right. Because after that workshop, we were like, there's nothing now that we need to hold back. Because it's like we just kind of connected after that. I was like, you know all my stuff. I know all your stuff. Like, let's just.
Well, not all the things, but a lot of the things.
Like, let's say a good 60 to 75% of the stuff we talked about. We talked about a lot of stuff. It went deep. And so.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so we had that meeting at I think it was Panera, and it seems to be our place, Panera Bread. I don't know what that's about. But anyways, we went there and we talked, and then.
And that was the tell me about Peace Restored conversation.
Yeah, so you got to hear about Peace Restored, a little bit about our vision, what we're doing. And then not too long after that, that's when like, hey, Renee, I got this.
Well, it was very clear at that meeting how busy you were. I mean, you talked a lot about all the different things you were trying to balance, all the things you were trying to do, and things that were succeeding and things that maybe weren't succeeding the way you wanted them to be.
Yeah.
And so I just tried to kind of take it all in, and was really prayerful the whole time. Like, all right, like the whole time, I feel like definitely the first year of us knowing each other, I had frequent conversations with God, like, I don't know what this is, God, but just draw my attention to whatever it is you want me to see and hear, and I'll be open, and you just guide me, guide us and help us figure out what this is that you're doing here. Because I believe that everybody who comes into my life, there's a purpose, and there's something I'm supposed to get, but there's also something I'm supposed to give. So just that constant prayer of, okay, what do you want me to give to Ann? What do you want me to give to Peace Restored? And then what do you have in store for me as a result of working with her and being, what am I supposed to do there?
Yeah. And so, it was, I'm not a person who, at least at this stage of my life, where when I meet people, I tend to just tell them, like, this is what I'm doing, this is what's going on. I just lay it all out there. And so, good or bad, sometimes that comes across to some as like, well, that's too much. And other people, and I think you were one of the people who were like, oh, that's interesting. You were intrigued.
I was intrigued, yeah. Do you remember what I said?
Not exactly. I don't want to quote you wrong.
So like toward the end, I think you had told me all the things, and you're like, so, what do you think? I've been talking so much, I want to hear, what you're thinking and whatever. And I said, I don't really know. I don't know what this is, but whatever you're doing, I want to be a part of it. Like, it sounds really exciting. God's doing something big over there, and I want to be a part of it.
Wow. And here we are. Yeah. So then we got to the time where you mentioned where I called you up and said, hey, there's this little speaking thing that I'm doing. And for those who don't know, the AACC is the American Association of Christian Counselors. It's a large, I believe they're international organization that trains counselors. They're mostly located here in American Association of Christian Counselors. And they train counselors across the United States. And that year in 2021, they were doing the conference in Florida. So for us, located here in Indiana, it was quite a large undertaking for us to pick up our organization and travel to Florida with a good part of our staff. In addition to that, we were, like Renee had mentioned, we were invited to be speakers there, and we were exhibitors at the conference. So it was quite an experience. It
was. And I was like, well, I think so. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I was, after we moved, where I was working, I was kind of winding down there. And because of the effects of COVID and different things going on in my life, I really felt God drawing me into a sabbatical and a time of reconnecting with him and with family, but also sort of sorting out what I'm supposed to do next.
Yeah.
And what was interesting is that I did do sabbatical, but at the same time we were constantly connecting and talking and working on the presentation.
Because we worked on that for 6 months or something like that. It was
quite a while.
It was quite a while. I don't know the exact time, but it seemed like months.
Yeah, probably 4 months.
Yeah,
maybe.
And we went back and forth. We would meet at different locations. At the end, we started rehearsing.
Yeah, which was
rehearsing.
Super odd. I don't know if people watching, listening, whatever. I don't know if people can fully understand how awkward and odd it is to meet somebody 2 or 3 times and then have to do a major presentation. Right. It was an hour and a half?
Yeah, hour and a half presentation. And the conference, just to give people a perspective, is they had 7,000 people in attendance. Now, not all 7,000 came to listen to us.
They did not.
No, we weren't that big of a ticket. We were one of the workshop speakers, to be clear.
But what do we have?
We had about 100 or something, I think.
Something like that.
Yeah, there was 100 and there was over 100 registered for the group. So I don't know. But it was a decent amount.
It was.
And
And I didn't know, I knew we've done everything just out of order.
That's okay.
I knew some of your deep things, personal things.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Personal things before I even knew what's your process for doing a presentation, right? Like, how do you do research? How do you do, collaborate with somebody? How do you? No idea. And we just
jumped in.
And it was,
we had to wrestle through some things together and get to know each other through that. For
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there was a few times where we were like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. What are you doing?
Like, wait, what? I thought I was doing that. You did it for me? Okay, cool.
Yeah, so we had to learn about each other's personality. But I think because of the dynamic that we were in through all that, we got to learn each other pretty quick.
We did.
Yeah.
And I think it was cool because we didn't sugarcoat anything. Like from the beginning, we've just been super real with each other.
Yeah. I think it feels like at this point, I don't know, I'm speaking for myself, you can say differently, is I feel like at this point we've known each other forever. And it's only been like, what, a year and a half? Yeah. It's like, it's been long in a good way. Like I feel like, because there's been so much that's happened in that year and a half. It's not like we just like, hey, we met a couple times. Like, no.
Yeah. Well, and of course, anybody who knows counselors, therapists, that's kind of our thing. That's what we do. We go deep pretty quickly. Yeah. We keep it real. So
we definitely have kept it very real.
We have indeed. So so it was great. And then on top of that, not only was I invited to do that presentation with you, but then you said, oh, and by the way, we're going to get this Verbo, and you won't have to pay for your lodging, and we're all going to stay in this house together. The staff.
Yeah, if you'd like to, come along.
Okay.
Yeah.
But, free trip to Florida.
Yeah.
Can't pass that up.
I know. So we got a little, like you said, VRBO in Florida, and we all stayed in the same, we had our own rooms, of course, but we all stayed in there, and it was good, though, because, one of our staff that's no longer with us, well, two of them that's no longer with us, but one in particular I'm thinking about that just left recently to go have her babies. It was so good because her husband got to come along.
Yeah.
And we got to know them so deeply and in a way that we never would have if it wouldn't have been for that conference. And I think it was the same for you and I. We just spent so much time together. It was hard not to get to know each other even more.
It was powerful.
And, it was such a good weekend, week down there of doing all that time.
Yeah, and we stayed up way too late, and we laughed a lot, and we got on each other's nerves a little. But I think one of the things we realized really quick, though, is that our personalities meshed pretty well. Yeah. Because not only did we have the conference, but then we drove together back to Indiana. So that wasn't a journey in itself. Yeah. Yeah. So, this is Ann. She just meets people, and you're just, if you make the cut, you make the cut, and she lets you drive her car from Florida back to Indiana.
I know.
We're doing this.
I know.
And we saw parts of Florida we didn't know existed.
I know. Just a note to everybody that's listening, when you drive on the, if you're taking a trip, you should make sure your GPS knows to allow you to take the interstate. Yeah. It's really important. Because if not, unless you like to go the scenic route, which we did for a bit before we're like, hey, I wonder if.
Right. Why haven't we seen it?
I didn't even know Florida had this many,
there are cows.
I know. We didn't even know they had that there. Like, wow,
no idea.
Florida had some things that I was like, it looked like farmland. We're what is going on?
Where are we?
Is this still Florida? And
right. And you're both like, I don't know.
I don't know. We'll just keep driving.
What were we talking about? Right? And we would just keep talking about all the different things. Yeah. We talked nonstop, I think.
We did. Yeah. It was good.
It was good.
So we went, so we did all of that driving. We got back to Indiana. And like we said in the conference, we just learned so much about each other. We learned about so much during the experience there. And then we got back home, and the dust started settling, and we started talking about an internship program.
We did, yeah.
And,
because when you met me, I was doing therapy, but also supervising. At that time, supervising both associate licensed therapists and licensed therapists.
Yeah.
so then we started talking about the possibility of building an internship program.
Yeah, so before we jump to that, we'll give a little bit of history for everybody who listening, is that, so Peace Restored, if you've been listening to the podcast, that we started in 2015 with this history of working with women almost out of the gate, right? It was 2 months after we started, women started showing up at our doors and we started serving them. And we just kept growing and growing, and the need became more apparent. In the early years, it was myself, and as you learned in the podcast yesterday, or not yesterday, but the last podcast, that Angela was one of our earliest. And so between the two of us, we just kept serving and working and doing all the things. Well, then in 2019, things continued to grow, and we kept adding staff on. And so in 2019, we had about a staff of 3. And I was continuing to see the need for our counseling service, which was just getting bigger, way bigger than what I could manage. And I was getting to a point where I was just like, I can't do this anymore. And I had been meeting with a group up on the north side that had ran a really robust counseling program through the East 91st Street Church. And I just thought, man, this would be great to have here in our area. I want to be able to do this. And so that was about the time when Renee and I started talking about this internship program. We were trying to figure out how to do this thing. And I had met with the staff up north a couple of times, just trying to figure out what it meant to run an internship program, because I'd never done that. I hadn't really trained counselors. And so I knew I needed somebody with licensure that could oversight and all of that. And so I was super excited when Renee was at least willing to have the conversation. And so by the time she came on board, we had gone from our staff of 3 to now a staff of 7. And just a lot of shifting, a lot of changing was going on when you came up, when you came on.
Yep, rapid shifting. Yeah, so there were so many conversations to be had, and to be very honest, I think there are some conversations that might have been important to most people early on that we still haven't had.
Yeah, it's funny.
But we both were just, again, over and over again, we don't know what you're doing, God, but we're in it, and just building our relationship and really trusting him to put the pieces together for us. Everything from what does this look like? How do we build relationship with the university? How do we create paperwork? Training staff, many of the things that I had learned in grad school and throughout my career, things, confidentiality and, EHRs and just all the different things that had to be covered. Yeah.
So not to say that we weren't doing some of those things, just to clarify. No. For those who are listening, they're like, what? You waited till Renee came on to have confidence? Like, no. We were already doing those things. Just Renee brought a different level of that to the organization, which we appreciated.
For sure, yeah. And the staff was bigger, right? So we had new people who weren't exposed to that.
Sure. And we needed, and so we needed to do some training on the new staff. We started integrating new processes and everything.
For sure.
But I think kind of go back to what you were saying is how none of what we did, the process for you and I coming together has not been kind of what we call a normal process.
Right, not at all. Yeah.
I still remember the day when you looked at me and go, Ann, are you going to have me fill out my contract and paperwork here? And I was like, oh.
You haven't done that yet? I think that's what you said.
I think I was I was surprised because I thought we had gone there because we had just been working.
We'd just been working.
And I was like, yeah, we should do that. And but I think that goes to the point of that you were just all in because your heart was in I want to be able to serve where God has me. It wasn't about, hey, Ann, I need you to make sure that you are giving me everything I deserve. Or everything that I think, everything that I want you to give me. It was like, hey, I'm here.
Podcast.
It happens. I'm here because I want to give back, and I know that God has me here for a reason.
Yeah.
And that was apparent from the very beginning. I've been. It's been so neat to watch that. You've just been like, I'm just here to serve. And I think that's why we've been able to kind of miss a few steps here and there.
Yeah.
Because we're doing all the things well together, and I'm so grateful for that.
Trying.
Well, we're trying, and we're improving as we go along.
We are.
Yeah,
we are.
We're a work in progress, but most things.
Well, and at that point, I had planned to take time off work. We sold the house, God provided, and I was I kept repeating to everyone, I'm on sabbatical.
Yep.
I'm on sabbatical.
Yeah, you told me a lot.
And friends and family would be like, well, what's that thing you're doing? I don't know what that is, but I'm on sabbatical.
I'm on sabbatical.
So then it didn't really matter until you asked about my paperwork and my, we talked about contract and whatever. And I was like, we didn't do that. So
yeah.
So then in October, we made it official.
Yeah.
You put a ring on it.
I know, I put a ring. That's right. Renee, will you be mine?
Yeah. And so then I was like, all right.
Yeah. And so then we really started getting down the work of how do we do this thing. And we kind of wrestled through a lot in the first couple of months, good wrestling. I don't think wrestling is a bad thing. I think we need to be able to wrestle together and figure out how to do better and do more together. Because if we just stay at status quo, we're never going to grow. And that's not something we're about here. We're definitely a growing and about a growth mindset here at Peace Restored. So, so it's been a full year,
to say the least.
So yeah, that's kind of putting a little bit of downplaying the year, huh?
Just a little.
Yeah. So we've done a lot in this last year. You want to talk about a little bit about the internship program, what the purpose of it is, what we're doing with it. It's still a kind of a baby program, to be clear with everybody listening. But if you are listening to this before Renee starts talking, I will say, as you listen to her talk and you're like, hey, I'm going to school for counseling. That's my heart to serve women. Because remember, we talked about in the last couple of podcasts that as Peace Restored, our passion is not just to work with women, but to work with women through a trauma focus, integrating faith. And if that's your heart, and you're like, I would love to be a part of that, go to our website. We have a whole page on our internship program. Please reach out to us, because we have so many women reaching out to us and I don't say that because look at us. I say that because the need is so great. There's so many women that need help. There's so many women that are just hurting. Just like you heard in my story, I was one of those women that was secretly hurting every week in the pew on Sundays, and nobody knew. And I needed a place to be able to go to, a safe place to work that out. And so that's why we exist. So if you are that counselor, or even if you already have your licensure and you're like, I would love to be able to give back and to be able to do more and to help more, please reach out to us, because again, we need your help. We're currently on our roles. We were just looking at that yesterday. We have about 75 women in our roles. And for a staff of, now we have 9 on staff, but not all 9 do counseling, mind you. Just a small percentage of us can do counseling. So most of our staff is support staff in different roles. We need your help. And so we are looking to expand. But that is the beauty of this internship program that we're doing, because we're not just getting more workers. We're training the multitude, hopefully, so they can go out and serve more women through trauma-informed, faith-focused care. So talk a little bit about that, please.
Sure. Yeah. So that's been, part of my journey. I went to Indiana Wesleyan for grad school, and just trying to sort out, how do I integrate my faith, wanting to be well-educated, to practice with excellence, to have respect of other professionals, of other faiths, use best practices, and all of those things. Excellence is super important to me. And so that is really in the DNA of what we're trying to do as we build an internship program, because it's hard to find all of those pieces where you're working with a counselor therapist who is well-trained, who is educated, who practices with excellence, who also is a person of faith, and can draw from that faith and help our clients draw from their faith, not as a quick fix. Let's open the Bible and pick a random verse and you're healed. And I know
neither of us believe in that one. Yeah, I mean, we know that God can heal, obviously,
absolutely,
but it's not about, we're not trying to just put a Band-Aid on it.
Right. And so, and I know, there is a lot of, potential controversy around, those issues of, We have people who are Bible only,
Right.
and people who are, secular psychology only, and we're trying to honor God with a beautiful blend of all that He has given, because we believe that all of it, anything that's true, is from God and His divine intervention. So wanting to, be well-informed, use trauma-informed care, but certainly help women as there, plenty of research to support that faith, that we find health in our faith. We find strength
so many
in our
statistics
faith.
about that.
So every day I'm trying to, praying, talking to God about, what does this look like? How can we do this? Hope and excellence are my two core values. So every day, I think how can we do that? So different ways that we're doing that. We have a application process. Building relationships with universities. I've been in conversation with, can I name them, I guess?
I imagine
we might be able to put links maybe in the, I don't know.
I think that's fine.
But I've been in conversation with Indiana Wesleyan, with UND, with Indiana University, Martin University, Liberty, of course, Liberty University. And I feel like I'm forgetting somebody.
Those are the ones I can think of right now.
Yeah. But Far Reach, just trying to reach out. Taylor has been an awesome resource to that, trying to help me connect with faculty and staff from those universities to pull them in and find clients, find interns that are training, that are pursuing licensure, but also as they step into, the Peace Restored website, the Peace Restored application for internship, it's very clear who we are as a Christian faith-based organization. And that's important, that when we pull people in to work with our clients, that, they have that same Christian foundation, biblical foundation, that we, everybody on staff, that we all share.
Yeah, we do.
So as you might imagine, anybody, who's listening to this, it can be hard to find all of those pieces. But we are searching because, again, I believe that's what is going to honor God. And I love doing training. I love doing supervision. It's really exciting. And God's brought us a few interns so far. Some have not worked out for whatever reasons. There's lots of reasons for that to happen, and God knows, and God takes care of those situations. But definitely seeing Him open some doors, and really, really excited about the prospects.
Yeah, it's good. I also think that as people are listening to us talk too, if you're with a university and you're wanting to connect, man, we're happy to talk to you too. You don't have to be a student. If you work with students, you're like,
absolutely.
Or if you work for an organization that says, we have people here who are going for licensure for counseling, but we can't provide oversight. We're happy to support and help you through that as long as they're willing to come under our supervision and our direction.
Absolutely.
And so, there's so many ways that we can partner with different organizations and individuals to help us expand the mission and the work of Peace Restored. But I am particularly excited about the counseling internship program because there is so much potential growth with that, not just for us as an organization, but because we don't imagine that everybody we train is going to stay with us.
Right.
But just the duplication of what we do, that is exciting because it can't be all about us anyways, and we know that. But being able to duplicate people and say, just go out.
And Peace Restored is so unique, too, because, the team approach that we both work to really cultivate in the sense of collaboration, the ability to work with a client on, deep trauma or significant grief and then have them get to a place where they're doing really well, but then they want to go deeper in their spiritual life and their faith walk with Christ, right? And so then to say, well, guess what? We have somebody, we have Judy doing spiritual direction. Let's, schedule with her, do a Bible study with her. We have groups. We have mental health coaches. We have all these different levels of care. And just to have the opportunity to, not say, I have all the answers, but that we as the body, right? we work together and collaborate together to meet so many needs of the women that we serve. And I mean, that's probably, I'm probably getting ahead of myself into maybe another podcast.
No, I think that's great.
That's just something that I just love. It's so unique.
Yep, it is unique. And that's what I talk about, is having that holistic model of care. We're not just coming in and saying, oh, we're going to work with your mental health perspective, which is so important. It's so needed in our culture in general. But I think there's something that goes missing when that's all we work on. Yeah. Because we're a whole person. Right. We're not just an emotional person, right? It's not just, we're not just an emotional being. We have a physical, we have a spiritual side. We have all of that. And if we're not addressing all of those needs, then we're missing the mark. Yeah. And we're go ahead.
Well, it's just, I was thinking just how beautiful it is, even in the counseling room, to have a client start to talk about faith and stop themselves and say, oh my gosh, it's so nice that I can talk about my faith here. Or on the flip side of that, somebody come in and say, I don't go to church. I don't really believe. And then they talk and they find that they're not judged. And, I really thought you were going to judge me for this thing that I did. And you didn't judge me. Right. And it's like, yes, that can be found. People can find a place where, we celebrate faith and we encourage faith, but we also don't judge you when that's not where you are. We love you, we accept you, we serve you as, one of God's beautiful creations. And it's so important.
We want to be the epitome of what we meet you where you're at. Yep. It's not about, you have to pick up all your broken pieces, you have to do this or do that, or you have to do these 6 steps or say this prayer or whatever. It's not that. Right. It's just come.
Come as you are.
Yeah. We're here our heart truly is to serve. It is. Yeah.
And to walk alongside.
Yeah. Because there are so many women, like we've been talking about the last couple of podcasts, that they're just hurting. Yeah. And they need a safe place to land. It's not just here in Indiana.
Oh, yeah.
And it's everywhere. It's not just in the little county that we're physically located in, Morgan County. It's in all of the counties.
All the counties, all the states, all the countries.
Yeah, it's probably your neighbor next door.
Absolutely.
It might even be your sister, your daughter.
Your mom.
Yeah, your mom. Yeah. Your aunt, So I just challenge people to always think about when they think, because we talk about, at Peace Restored, we focus on those, we work with women through difficult life experiences, and we focus on the areas of trauma, abuse, and grief. I would challenge you not to say, well, that's not my family. Right. That's not anybody I know. Because statistics tell us different. Statistics tell us that it's probably on average about 50% of the women that you meet. Yeah. That's a lot. And I'd probably say it's higher. That's just statistics. And statistics, remember, go by reported numbers. Right. I think that's the key thing that we need to remember.
Yeah. And how many women have we worked with who have never told a soul?
Yeah. Yeah, I was one of them. I didn't tell anybody until, there's nobody that would record it as reported, right? Because it was just I telling my story. Right. So, the numbers are huge.
They are.
So many people don't tell a soul about what happened to them. And it's not always sexual abuse. It could be domestic violence they went through, a traumatic experience. We've had people who have had explosions at their home, where their homes exploded. And, what do you do with that, right? I mean, that's a trauma. And so there's so much that people just need a place to walk that out. They need to know there's hope.
Absolutely.
And there is true hope. It's that's why we call our podcast Seeking Healing, Finding Hope. Because we want people to seek healing, but we want them to find hope on the other side of that. Yeah. So it's been a full year. I'll say it again. I am so looking forward to what God has in store for us next.
Yeah. And I'm anxious for the flood of people who are going to come. Emailing and ringing the phone and saying, I want to be a part of that.
Right. Yeah. Because I think that's the key thing for people to know is that while we're doing this work, it is a work that we do need the community support for. So if you want to learn more about how to support us as an organization, you can go to our website. Again, that's peacerestored.net, and you can figure out how to support us, because that can come in many ways, through financial support, through financial support. All those things are so needed because the work we do is hard, but it is so needed and so worth it.
Absolutely.
Again, Renee, thank you so much for being on our podcast today. It's been a pleasure talking with you. I know you have a true heart to serve women. I mean, it's apparent for anybody who is listening. I think they can hear it in your voice, but especially for those who are able to watch it today, they could see it in your face and know that your heart is tender and that you have such a desire to see people come to healing, especially through being able to come to know that Christ can be their hope. So again, this has been a good one. It's been good to have this conversation. So over the next several podcasts, we're going to continue to share with you how we have grown and our mission of Peace Restored. In the meantime, if you'd like to learn more about us, go to our website, which is again, peacerestored.net. And don't forget to check out our show notes where you'll be able to find links, additional content, and a few video links. As we wrap up our mission and vision of Peace Restored in the next few days, make sure to stay tuned as we begin to share with you practical ways where you too can seek healing and find hope. On our next podcast, you will learn more about our vision for Peace Restored and continue the conversation with Renee Roberts. So come back next time to hear our stories of transformation, growth, and power. This is Peace Restored.